Years passed, and Clara Langley's name became synonymous with brilliance, innovation, and compassion. Her work transcended borders, touching lives in ways she had never imagined when she first began tinkering with equations as a child. The algorithms she developed saved countless communities from the devastation of hurricanes, tsunamis, and wildfires. Governments adopted her predictive models to strengthen disaster preparedness systems, while schools incorporated her story into curricula to inspire young minds. Yet despite the global acclaim, Clara remained grounded, driven not by fame but by purpose, a legacy shaped by the man who had believed in her when no one else did. The Langley Foundation flourished under her leadership, becoming a beacon of hope for gifted children around the world. It provided scholarships to students who might otherwise have been overlooked, funding their education and connecting them with mentors who could nurture their talents. One recipient, a boy named Leo from a rural village in India, wrote Clara a letter that brought tears to her eyes. "Because of you," he wrote, "I'm able to dream bigger than I ever thought possible. Thank you for showing me that being different isn't something to hide, it's something to celebrate." Reading those words reminded Clara of herself at his age, shy, uncertain, and yearning for someone to believe in her potential. She responded personally, sharing stories of her own struggles and encouraging him to keep pushing forward. Clara's dedication extended beyond her professional achievements. She traveled frequently, visiting orphanages and underserved communities to speak directly with children facing challenges similar to the ones she'd overcome. During these visits, she shared not only her successes, but also her failures, the moments when self-doubt had nearly paralyzed her, and the times when critics had tried to silence her. "You will face obstacles," she told them during one such visit, "but remember this. Your worth isn't determined by what others think of you. It's determined by how much effort you put into becoming the best version of yourself." Her speeches resonated deeply, especially with children who felt invisible or misunderstood. Many later credited her talks with giving them the courage to pursue their passions, whether in science, art, or any other field. Clara took pride in knowing that she was paying forward the kindness Edward had shown her all those years ago. His belief in her had sparked a chain reaction, empowering others to believe in themselves too. As Clara entered adulthood, she continued to honor Edward's memory in meaningful ways. She transformed the mansion they had once called home into a center for innovation and learning, naming it the Edward Langley Institute for Discovery. The institute offered workshops, research opportunities, and collaborative spaces where people of all ages could explore their interests and push the boundaries of knowledge. Its walls were adorned with photographs of Edward and Clara together, stargazing, reading, laughing, reminders of the bond that had started it all. One summer evening, as Clara stood on the Institute's terrace overlooking the sprawling gardens, she reflected on how far she had come. The stars above shimmered brightly, casting a gentle glow over the landscape. She remembered the nights she and Edward had spent lying on the grass, pointing out constellations and dreaming about the future. Those memories still brought her comfort, even though he was no longer there to share them with her. "Do you think he'd be proud?" a voice asked softly behind her. Turning, Clara saw Mrs. Harper, the kind woman from St. Mary's Orphanage who had introduced her to Edward so many years ago. Now older, with streaks of gray in her hair, Mrs. Harper smiled warmly as she joined Clara on the terrace. "I know he would be," Clara replied, her voice steady. "He always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. And now, seeing everything we've built together, I think he'd say we're doing exactly what he hoped we would." Mrs. Harper nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You've done more than anyone could have expected, Clara. You've changed the world, and you've honored his memory in the most beautiful way." Clara smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. While Edward's physical presence was gone, his influence lived on in every corner of her life. From the foundation that bore his name to the countless lives touched by her work, his legacy endured. He had taught her that true greatness wasn't about personal accolades. It was about using one's gifts to uplift others. In the years that followed, Clara became not just a scientist, but a symbol of resilience and determination. People admired her not only for her intellect, but also for her humility and humanity. She proved that genius wasn't an isolated trait. It thrived when nurtured by love, support, and belief. Her story inspired books, documentaries, and even films, each capturing different facets of her journey. But none of these portrayals fully captured the depth of her relationship with Edward, the quiet moments of connection that had laid the foundation for everything she achieved. On the 10th anniversary of Edward's passing, Clara returned to St. Mary's Orphanage. The building looked much the same as it had when she was a child, though some of the furniture had been updated and new faces filled its halls. As she walked through the familiar rooms, memories flooded back. The nervousness she'd felt meeting Edward for the first time, the excitement of discovering books in the library, the loneliness that had once consumed her. Mrs. Harper greeted her warmly, introducing her to the current residents. Many of the children recognized Clara immediately, their eyes lighting up with awe. "Are you really the Clara Langley?" one little girl asked shyly, clutching a tattered copy of a biography about her. Clara knelt down to meet the child's gaze, smiling gently. "Yes, I am," she said. "And guess what? I used to live here just like you. This place is special. It helped shape who I am today." That evening, Clara addressed the children gathered in the orphanage's modest auditorium. She spoke candidly about her journey, emphasizing the importance of perseverance and self-belief. "There will be people who doubt you," she told them. "People who tell you that you're too strange, too different, or too ambitious. Don't listen to them. Trust in your abilities, and surround yourself with people who see the good in you, even if it's just one person. For me, that person was my father, Edward. He saw the universe in me, and because of that I learned to see it in myself." Her words left a lasting impression on the audience. Some children cried quietly, moved by her vulnerability, while others scribbled notes eager to remember her advice. Afterward, several approached her to ask questions or share their dreams. Clara listened attentively to each one, offering encouragement and wisdom gleaned from her own experiences. Before leaving, Clara unveiled a plaque mounted near the entrance of the orphanage. Inscribed on it were the words, "To the dreamers, the thinkers, the believers, may you find your universe within." Beneath the inscription was a small engraving of a telescope, a nod to the nights she and Edward had spent exploring the stars. As Clara drove away from St. Mary's, she felt a profound sense of closure. Her journey had come full circle, from the lonely girl unsure of her place in the world to the woman who had redefined what was possible. Along the way, she had proven that greatness isn't born in isolation. It's cultivated through love, mentorship, and unwavering faith in one another. Edward's decision to adopt her, a choice once mocked as insane, had ultimately transformed 2 lives and countless others. Together, they had defied expectations, shattered stereotypes, and created a legacy that would endure for generations. Their story served as a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary outcomes arise from the simplest acts of kindness, believing in someone when no one else does. And so, Clara Langley continued to shine, not just as a brilliant mind, but as a testament to the transformative power of love and belief. Her journey was proof that even in the darkest moments there is always light to be found, in the stars above, in the hearts of those who care, and in the infinite possibilities waiting to be discovered. The small village of Kandapuram was quiet, almost too quiet on the morning of Rajiv's funeral. The sky above was heavy with gray clouds, as if nature itself mourned the loss of one of its own. Rajiv had been a simple man, a farmer who spent his days tending to crops and caring for his family. He wasn't rich by any means, but he had something far more valuable: the love and respect of everyone around him. His kindness was unmatched, and his generosity knew no bounds. If someone needed help, Rajiv would drop everything to lend a hand. That's why his sudden death sent shockwaves through the entire community. On that fateful day, villagers gathered at the edge of the cemetery, their faces etched with sorrow. Women dressed in white saris clung to each other, wiping away tears. Men stood silently, heads bowed in respect. Children, usually full of energy and laughter, were unusually subdued, sensing the weight of the moment. At the center of it all stood Mira, Rajiv's wife, holding tightly onto her young son Arjun. Her eyes were red from crying and her hands trembled as she tried to comfort the boy. Despite her grief, she managed to greet those who came to pay their respects, offering weak smiles that didn't reach her eyes. Rajiv's body lay inside a simple wooden coffin, adorned with flowers picked fresh from his own fields. The scent of marigolds filled the air, mingling with the damp earthiness of the soil. A local priest led the procession, chanting prayers in a low, steady voice. His words echoed softly, providing some semblance of peace amidst the overwhelming sadness. As the group made its way to the gravesite, the sound of footsteps crunching against dry leaves and gravel created an eerie rhythm, underscoring the solemnity of the occasion. But there was something else in the air, something unspoken yet palpable. Whispers rippled through the crowd, barely audible but impossible to ignore. "How did he die so suddenly?" asked one elderly woman, leaning close to her neighbor. No one had answers. Rajiv had seemed perfectly healthy just days ago, working tirelessly under the sun as he always did. Then, without warning, he fell ill. Feverish and delirious, he muttered strange things about secrets and danger before slipping away forever. Doctors couldn't pinpoint the cause of death, leaving behind more questions than answers. Mira overheard these murmurs but said nothing. She had her own suspicions, though she kept them buried deep within her heart. In the final days of Rajiv's life, he had acted strangely, withdrawn, anxious, and constantly looking over his shoulder as if expecting someone or something to appear out of nowhere. He refused to explain what was troubling him, brushing off Mira's concerns with vague reassurances. Now, standing beside his coffin, she couldn't shake the feeling that his death wasn't natural. Something darker must have been at play. As the procession reached the gravesite, the tension grew thicker. Villagers exchanged uneasy glances, their unease amplified by the oppressive weather. The wind picked up unexpectedly, sending shivers down everyone's spines. Leaves swirled around their feet, and the once steady drizzle turned into a heavier rain. It was as if the heavens themselves were weeping for Rajiv. Yet, even through the rain, the villagers pressed on, determined to give their friend and neighbor a proper send-off. The priest began the final rites, sprinkling holy water over the coffin while reciting ancient verses meant to guide the soul to the afterlife. Mira held little Arjun closer, shielding him from the rain with her sari. Her mind raced with memories of Rajiv, the way he used to laugh so freely, the way his calloused hands felt when they held hers, the way he always smelled faintly of soil and sunshine. She couldn't believe he was gone. It felt surreal, like a nightmare she would wake up from any moment. Yet despite her personal anguish, Mira couldn't ignore the collective unease spreading among the mourners. Some shifted uncomfortably, glancing nervously at the ground. Others whispered prayers, under their breath clutching amulets or beads for protection. Elders muttered about curses and omens, their voices tinged with fear. They spoke of old legends, tales of restless spirits and vengeful forces that punished those who crossed certain boundaries. While most dismissed such stories as superstition, the circumstances surrounding Rajiv's death made them hard to ignore. And then, just as the coffin was lowered into the ground, something happened that froze everyone in place. From beneath the freshly dug earth surrounding the grave, movement caught the corner of someone's eye. At first it was subtle, a flicker, a shadow, but soon it became unmistakable. Snakes, dozens of them, slithering, writhing, emerging from the very soil where Rajiv was being laid to rest. Panic erupted instantly. Women screamed, men shouted, and children cried as chaos broke loose. People scrambled in every direction, desperate to escape the horrifying sight. Inspector Arjun Singh, who happened to be visiting the village for unrelated matters, watched the scene unfold with a mixture of disbelief and determination. He had seen strange things in his career, but this defied logic. As the crowd dispersed, leaving behind only the echoes of terror, Singh knew one thing for certain. There was more to this story than met the eye, and he was going to find out exactly what it was. As the coffin descended into the grave, the eerie calm that had enveloped the funeral procession shattered in an instant. From the freshly turned soil surrounding the grave, something stirred, something alive and unnatural. At first, it was just a faint movement, barely noticeable beneath the chaos of the rain and the murmurs of the mourners. A few villagers froze mid-step, their eyes widening as they caught sight of sinuous shapes emerging from the damp earth. Then came the unmistakable hiss, a sound that sent shivers racing down everyone's spines. One by one, snakes began to slither out of the ground. They weren't small, harmless creatures either. These were large, ominous serpents with scales glistening under the dim light of the overcast sky. Some were venomous cobras, their hoods flared wide, while others were sleek and dark, moving with unsettling speed. The sight was surreal, almost otherworldly, as if the grave itself had come alive to reject Rajiv's body. Within seconds, dozens of snakes surrounded the coffin, their movements fluid yet menacing. Panic erupted like wildfire. Women screamed, clutching at each other as they stumbled backward, trying to flee the scene. Men shouted warnings, their voices drowned out by the cacophony of fear. Children wailed, clinging to their parents' legs or running blindly in terror. Even the priest, who had been chanting prayers moments earlier, dropped his ceremonial items and bolted, leaving behind only the faint echo of unfinished verses. The once orderly funeral procession dissolved into complete disarray. Mira, still holding her son Arjun, stood frozen for a moment, unable to comprehend what she was seeing. Her breath hitched as a snake slid dangerously close to her feet, its forked tongue flicking rapidly. Instinct took over and she grabbed Arjun, pulling him tightly against her chest as she turned to run. But the ground was slick with rain and her foot slipped, sending her crashing to the muddy earth. She landed hard, pain shooting through her knees, but her grip on Arjun never faltered. Tears streamed down her face, not just from the shock of the moment, but from the overwhelming sense that this was more than coincidence. This wasn't just bad luck. It felt like a curse. Inspector Arjun Singh, who had been observing silently from the edge of the crowd, sprang into action. Though he too was startled by the sudden appearance of the snakes, his training kicked in immediately. He scanned the area, assessing the situation with sharp eyes. "Stay calm," he shouted, his voice cutting through the din of panic. "Move, away slowly. Don't provoke them." His words did little to quell the hysteria, but a few people managed to heed his advice, backing away cautiously rather than bolting outright. Singh moved closer to the grave, keeping a safe distance from the writhing mass of snakes. He noticed something peculiar. The serpent seemed drawn to the coffin itself, coiling around it as though guarding it. Several villagers pointed this out as well, their voices trembling with fear. "They're protecting him!" One elderly man exclaimed, his tone laced with awe and dread. "It's a sign. Rajiv must have angered someone powerful, maybe even the gods themselves." The inspector frowned at this explanation. Superstitions aside, there had to be a logical reason for the snake's presence. He knelt down carefully, examining the soil near the grave. It was loose and damp, perfect conditions for snakes to burrow. But why would so many gather here all at once? And why now, during the funeral? As he pondered these questions, another thought occurred to him. Rajiv's death had been sudden and mysterious. Could the two events be connected? By now, most of the villagers had fled the cemetery, seeking refuge in their homes or nearby shelters. Only a handful remained, too terrified to move or too curious to leave. Among them was Mira, who sat on the wet ground, cradling Arjun in her arms. Her sari was soaked through, her hair plastered to her face, but she didn't seem to notice. Her wide, tear-filled eyes were fixed on the grave. Watching as the snakes continued to writhe and coil around the coffin, she whispered prayers under her breath, her voice barely audible over the rain. Inspector Singh approached her gently, crouching beside her. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his tone soft but firm. Mira shook her head, though her trembling hands betrayed her fear. "What's happening?" she choked out, her voice breaking. "Why are they here? Why is this happening to us?" I don't know yet, Singh admitted honestly. But I promise you, I'll find out. His reassurance did little to comfort her, but it gave her something to hold on to, a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. For now, that was enough. As the rain continued to pour, the inspector called for backup, requesting wildlife experts and local authorities to assist in handling the situation. Until then, he instructed the remaining villagers to stay back, ensuring no one got too close to the grave. The snakes showed no signs of aggression beyond their intimidating presence, but Singh knew better than to take chances. Every instinct told him this was no ordinary occurrence. Something deeper, something sinister was at play. Hours passed before help arrived. By then, the crowd had thinned considerably, leaving only a few brave souls willing to wait it out. Wildlife officials carefully examined the snakes, identifying several species native to the region. While none appeared overtly aggressive, their sheer number and synchronized behavior raised eyebrows. One expert suggested that vibrations or scents associated with the burial might have attracted them, though this theory failed to explain why they seemed so fixated on the coffin. As night fell, the cemetery grew eerily quiet. The rain finally subsided, leaving behind a thick mist that clung to the ground. Inspector Singh stood alone near the grave, his mind racing with possibilities. What secrets lay buried alongside Rajiv? And what connection did the snakes have to his untimely demise? Whatever the truth was, Singh vowed to uncover it, not just for Meera and her son, but for the entire village of Kandapuram. Because until the mystery was solved, no one would truly be at peace. Inspector Arjun Singh knew that solving the mystery of the snakes at Rajiv's grave would not be easy. The bizarre events had left the entire village shaken, and whispers of curses and divine retribution were spreading like wildfire. But Singh was a man of logic, trained to look beyond superstition and uncover the truth hidden beneath layers of fear and speculation. He decided to start his investigation by speaking with those closest to Rajiv, his family, friends, and neighbors. If there was something unusual about Rajiv's final days, someone in the village must have noticed it. The next morning, Singh visited Meera at her modest home on the outskirts of Kandapuram. The house was quiet, save for the soft sobs coming from inside. Meera sat on a wooden bench near the doorway, her face pale and drawn. Little Arjun clung to her side, his wide eyes filled with confusion and fear. Singh approached gently, introducing himself once again before asking if he could speak with her. "I know this is hard for you," he said softly, "but I need your help to understand what happened to Rajiv." Meera nodded hesitantly, wiping away tears with the edge of her sari. She invited Singh to sit beside her, and as they talked, pieces of the puzzle began to emerge. According to Meera, Rajiv had been acting strangely in the weeks leading up to his death. He would return home late from the fields, often appearing distracted or anxious. When she asked him what was wrong, he brushed her off, saying it was nothing to worry about. But one evening, just days before he fell ill, Rajiv had confided in her, though only vaguely, that he had stumbled upon something dangerous. "He said he couldn't tell me everything because it might put us in danger too," Meera recalled, her voice trembling. "But he promised he'd handle it." Singh listened intently, jotting down notes in his small notebook. "Did he mention anything specific? Any names, places, or details?" he asked. Meera shook her head. "No, he didn't say much, but he did talk about the forest." Her brow furrowed as she tried to remember. "He went there a lot lately, even though he usually avoided it. He said it was important work, but he wouldn't explain further." This revelation piqued Singh's interest. The forest surrounding Kandapuram was vast and dense, known for its rich biodiversity, and also for being largely unexplored. It wasn't uncommon for villagers to venture into its edges to gather firewood or medicinal herbs, but few ventured deep inside due to rumors of wild animals and strange happenings. Could Rajiv have discovered something significant there? Something worth risking his life for? After speaking with Meera, Singh decided to visit some of Rajiv's neighbors and friends. He learned that Rajiv had always been passionate about nature, particularly snakes. Several villagers recounted how Rajiv had saved injured snakes he found in his fields, nursing them back to health before releasing them into the wild. He used to say snakes were sacred, one elderly farmer told Singh, that they protected the land and kept balance in nature. This love for snakes made the events at the funeral even more perplexing. Why would creatures Rajiv revered turn against him, or seemingly guard his body, in such a dramatic way? As Singh continued his interviews, another pattern emerged. Multiple villagers mentioned seeing strangers lurking near the forest in recent weeks. These individuals were described as rough-looking men, carrying large sacks and tools. No one knew who they were or what they were doing, but their presence had raised suspicions. Some speculated they were poachers, while others believed they might be involved in illegal activities. Singh made a mental note to investigate this lead further. Later that afternoon, Singh paid a visit to the local temple priest, hoping to gain insight into the cultural significance of snakes in the region. The priest, an elderly man named Guruji, welcomed him warmly despite the grim circumstances. Over cups of steaming chai, Guruji shared stories passed down through generations about the bond between humans and snakes in Kandapuram. Snakes are seen as protectors of the earth, he explained. They symbolize renewal and wisdom. In our traditions, harming a snake is considered bad karma. Guruji also spoke of ancient rituals performed by certain groups to appease snake deities, ensuring bountiful harvests and protection from misfortune. However, he warned that meddling with such practices without proper knowledge could invite trouble. If someone disrespected the balance, if they took more than they gave, it could anger the spirits, he said cryptically. While Singh appreciated the cultural context, he remained skeptical of supernatural explanations. Still, the idea of balance resonated with him. Perhaps Rajiv's actions, or someone else's, had disrupted something fragile. By evening, Singh had gathered enough information to form a tentative hypothesis. Rajiv had clearly been involved in something secretive, likely connected to the forest. His fascination with snakes suggested he may have encountered something related to them, a discovery so significant that it cost him his life. The strangers, seen near the forest, added another layer of intrigue, hinting at illegal activities that could intersect with Rajiv's fate. Determined to piece together the full picture, Singh decided to explore the forest himself. Early the next morning, he assembled a team consisting of wildlife experts, forensic investigators, and a few trusted locals familiar with the terrain. Armed with flashlights, cameras, and protective gear, they set out toward the heart of the woods. The air grew cooler as they ventured deeper, sunlight filtering through the thick canopy above. Birds chirped in the distance, and the occasional rustle of leaves hinted at unseen creatures moving nearby. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon evidence of human activity. Hidden among the trees were makeshift campsites littered with discarded items, empty jars, metal traps, and tattered blankets. One of the wildlife experts examined a trap designed specifically for capturing snakes. These are used to extract venom, he explained grimly. Illegal traders sell it on the black market for exorbitant prices. It's a dangerous business. Further, exploration revealed more disturbing findings. Documents scattered across a table detailed transactions involving rare snake species and their venom. Names and locations were scribbled hastily, suggesting the operation was both lucrative and clandestine. Singh felt a surge of anger as he realized the extent of the exploitation happening right under the villagers' noses. Whoever these poachers were, they had no regard for the delicate ecosystem or the people living nearby. As the team continued their search, they came across a clearing where several trees bore fresh cuts and scars. Nearby, a pile of dead snakes lay abandoned, their bodies lifeless and desecrated. The sight was heartbreaking, a stark reminder of the cruelty inflicted upon these creatures. Singh clenched his fists, vowing to bring those responsible to justice. But amidst the destruction, one clue stood out. A faded photograph pinned to a tree, showing Rajiv standing proudly beside a massive cobra. On the back of the photo, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Protector of the Sacred." For Singh, the message was clear. Rajiv hadn't just stumbled upon the poachers, he had actively opposed them. Whether by sabotaging their equipment, freeing captured snakes, or reporting their activities, he had become a threat to their operation. And now, Singh suspected, they had silenced him permanently. But why had the snakes appeared at his grave? Was it mere coincidence, or was there a deeper connection between Rajiv and the creatures he loved? The answer still eluded him, but Singh was closer than ever to unraveling the truth. Inspector Arjun Singh and his team spent hours combing through the forest, piecing together fragments of a story that grew darker with every discovery. The evidence they uncovered painted a chilling picture: an illegal operation targeting snakes for their venom, a ruthless group willing to exploit nature for profit, and Rajiv, who had somehow crossed paths with them. But as Singh delved deeper into the investigation, he realized there was more to Rajiv's involvement than met the eye. This wasn't just about poaching. It was about something far more personal. The makeshift campsites in the forest were crude, yet functional, designed to blend into the surroundings so as not to attract attention. Singh's team found snake traps scattered throughout the area, some still containing remnants of shed skin or dried blood. One expert explained how these traps worked. Baited with food or scents, they lured snakes into confined spaces where they could be captured alive. Once caught, the snakes were taken to a central location where their venom was extracted, a painful and often fatal process. The venom itself was highly valuable on the black market, used for everything from traditional medicine to experimental pharmaceuticals. But what struck Singh most was the sheer scale of the operation. The documents they discovered listed transactions involving hundreds of thousands of rupees, along with names and contacts linked to buyers across the country. It was clear this wasn't the work of amateurs. It was a well-organized network with connections extending far beyond Kandapuram. Someone powerful was pulling the strings, someone who wouldn't hesitate to eliminate anyone who got in their way. As Singh examined the piles of discarded materials, empty jars, rusted tools, and torn sacks, he noticed something unusual. Among the debris were small wooden carvings shaped like snakes, intricately detailed and polished smooth. At first glance, they appeared decorative, but Singh sensed they held greater significance. He asked one of the wildlife experts about them. "These look ritualistic," the expert said thoughtfully. "They might have been used in ceremonies or offerings. Some groups believe carving symbols of snakes brings protection or power." This revelation added another layer of complexity to the case. Were the poachers merely criminals motivated by greed, or were they part of a larger cult-like organization, using the forest as both a hideout and a sacred site? Singh couldn't shake the feeling that the two aspects were intertwined, that the exploitation of snakes went beyond financial gain and tapped into something spiritual, even sinister. While exploring further, the team stumbled upon a hidden clearing deep within the forest. Unlike the other sites, this one felt different. The ground was scorched, as if a fire had recently burned there, and charred remains of plants lay scattered around. In the center stood a large stone altar, its surface etched with intricate patterns resembling coiled snakes. Surrounding the altar were candles melted down to stubs and faded flower petals, signs of recent use. Singh's heart sank as he realized this was no ordinary campsite. It was a place of worship, repurposed for dark intentions. "This is where they must have performed their rituals," one of the locals whispered, visibly uneasy. "It's cursed ground." Singh didn't believe in curses, but he understood why people might think so. The combination of environmental destruction and apparent reverence for snakes created a disturbing paradox. To harm creatures considered sacred while invoking their power seemed like an act of defiance against nature itself, and perhaps against forces beyond human understanding. Back at the village, Singh reviewed the evidence gathered during the expedition. He cross-referenced the information with statements from villagers, looking for overlaps or connections. One name kept coming up: Rakesh, a mysterious figure rumored to lead a band of outsiders operating near the forest. No one had seen him directly, but descriptions matched those of the strangers spotted weeks earlier. Some claimed Rakesh was a wealthy businessman funding the poaching ring, while others believed he was a spiritual leader leading a secretive sect. Either way, Singh knew finding him would be key to solving the mystery. Intrigued by the possibility of a dual motive, profit and belief, Singh decided to dig deeper into Rajiv's past. He returned to Mira's home hoping she might provide additional insights. This time she handed him a weathered journal belonging to Rajiv. "He wrote in it every night," she said softly. "Maybe you'll find answers here." The journal proved invaluable. Its pages revealed Rajiv's lifelong fascination with snakes, describing encounters with them in vivid detail. He spoke of their intelligence, beauty, and role in maintaining ecological balance. More importantly, he expressed outrage over the exploitation of snakes, vowing to protect them however he could. Toward the end of the entries, his tone shifted. He described discovering the poachers' camps and witnessing their cruel methods firsthand. "I can't stand by and let this happen," one entry read. "If I don't stop them, who will?" Rajiv hadn't just observed the poachers. He had actively interfered. Entries detailed how he sabotaged traps, freed captured snakes, and destroyed equipment when possible. He admitted feeling scared but resolved to fight back, even if it meant risking his life. "These creatures are innocent," he wrote. "They deserve better than this fate. If my actions anger the gods, so be it. At least I'll die knowing I tried." Reading these words, Singh felt a mix of admiration and sorrow. Rajiv had been brave, selfless, and driven by a deep sense of purpose. Yet his courage had made him a target. The inspector now suspected that the poachers had poisoned Rajiv, making his death appear natural to avoid suspicion. The sudden illness, the lack of medical explanation, it all pointed to foul play. But what about the snakes at the funeral? Singh consulted the wildlife experts, asking if there was any plausible reason the creatures would gather at Rajiv's grave. One suggested that snakes, being highly sensitive to vibrations and scents, might have been drawn to the burial site by residual traces of Rajiv's presence. Another proposed that the soil conditions near the grave were ideal for burrowing, attracting snakes naturally. But Singh couldn't ignore the symbolism either. Rajiv's dedication to protecting snakes had earned him their loyalty if such a thing existed. Perhaps in their own primal way, the snakes were paying tribute to the man who had fought for them. By the time Singh finished reviewing the journal and discussing theories with his team, he felt closer than ever to unraveling the truth. Rajiv had been a guardian of the forest, a protector of its most vulnerable inhabitants. His death was not random but deliberate, orchestrated by those who feared exposure. And the snakes? They were not agents of vengeance but witnesses to injustice, drawn inexplicably to the resting place of someone who had championed their cause. With renewed determination, Singh vowed to bring justice to Rajiv and his family. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he also knew the stakes were high. This wasn't just about solving a crime. It was about honoring a man's legacy and safeguarding the delicate balance between humans and nature. Whatever secrets remained hidden in the shadows, Singh was ready to face them head-on. The arrest of Rakesh and his associates marked the beginning of a new chapter for Kandapuram. The once silent village, weighed down by grief and fear, began to stir with life and purpose. What had started as a tragedy, a beloved man's untimely death, had transformed into a catalyst for change. Inspector Arjun Singh watched this transformation unfold with quiet pride, knowing that Rajiv's sacrifice had sparked something extraordinary. In the weeks following the arrests, the villagers rallied together like never before. Inspired by Rajiv's bravery, they formed committees dedicated to protecting the forest and its wildlife. These groups organized regular patrols, ensuring no outsiders could exploit the land without consequence. Some villagers even volunteered to learn about snake conservation from wildlife experts, turning their fear of the creatures into respect and admiration. They began identifying safe zones for snakes to thrive, planting native vegetation and creating shelters near water sources. It was as if Rajiv's spirit lingered in every effort, guiding them toward healing both the land and themselves. Mira played a pivotal role in these initiatives. Though her heart still ached for Rajiv, she found solace in channeling her pain into action. She became one of the most vocal advocates for environmental protection, speaking at gatherings and sharing Rajiv's story with anyone who would listen. He taught us that every creature has value, she often said during these speeches. Even those we fear or misunderstand deserve our care and respect. Her words resonated deeply with the community, inspiring many to see the forest not as a distant wilderness but as an extension of their own home. Little Arjun, too, seemed to carry his father's legacy within him. At first the boy had been withdrawn, struggling to process the loss of his father and the chaos surrounding it. But as he saw his mother step forward with courage and determination, he began to emulate her strength. He joined the children's group formed by the village elders, where kids learned about nature through storytelling and hands-on activities. One day, while exploring the edge of the forest with other children, Arjun discovered a small snake coiled beneath a rock. Instead of running away in fear, he remembered what his father had always said. Snakes are sacred. They protect us in ways we don't understand. With gentle hands, he guided the creature back to safety, earning cheers from his friends. That moment solidified his place as a young guardian of the forest, much like his father before him. Inspector Singh continued to support the village's efforts, recognizing that true justice extended beyond punishing criminals. He worked closely with government agencies to secure funding for conservation projects and establish stricter laws against poaching. His dedication earned him the trust and gratitude of the villagers, who now regarded him as an honorary member of their community. On several occasions, he visited Rajiv's grave alongside Meera and Arjun, paying his respects and reflecting on how far they had come since that fateful day. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm hues over the fields, the entire village gathered near the cemetery to unveil a memorial dedicated to Rajiv. Carved from smooth stone, the shrine depicted a farmer standing beside a towering cobra, symbolizing the harmony between humans and nature that Rajiv had fought so hard to preserve. Inscribed below the sculpture were simple yet powerful words: "For the forest, for the future." As lanterns flickered around the site, villagers took turns placing flowers and lighting incense, their faces illuminated by soft, golden light. During the ceremony, Guruji delivered a heartfelt sermon, reminding everyone of the lessons Rajiv had left behind. He showed us that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it, the priest said. And he reminded us that when we protect the earth, we protect ourselves. Let us honor his memory not with sadness, but with action. As the crowd dispersed, Meera lingered near the shrine, her fingers tracing the inscription. Inspector Singh approached her quietly, offering a supportive smile. "You've done so much for your husband's legacy," he said. "I think he'd be proud." Tears welled up in Meera's eyes, but this time, they weren't tears of sorrow. "Thank you," she replied softly. "But this isn't just for Rajiv, it's for all of us, for the future Arjun will inherit." Later that night, as the village settled into silence, something remarkable happened. A single snake emerged from the shadows, gliding silently toward the shrine. Its scales shimmered faintly in the moonlight as it coiled itself near the base of the sculpture. There it remained, unmoving, as if standing guard alongside the tribute to Rajiv. Villagers who noticed the serpent whispered among themselves, some interpreting its presence as a sign of approval from the natural world. Others simply marveled at the beauty of the moment, grateful for the reminder that life and balance could endure even after tragedy. Inspector Singh stood at a distance, watching the scene unfold. He didn't believe in curses or divine intervention, but he couldn't deny the profound symbolism of it all. The snakes, once feared and misunderstood, had become symbols of resilience and hope. And Rajiv, whose love for these creatures had defined his life, had united an entire village under a shared vision of harmony and renewal. As Singh walked away from the cemetery, the sound of crickets filling the cool night air, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Justice had been served, yes, but more importantly, a community had risen above despair to embrace responsibility and compassion. The story of Rajiv wasn't just about a man who died fighting for what he believed in. It was about a village that chose to live by his example. And in that choice lay the truest form of redemption, a promise to honor the past while building a brighter, kinder future.